I will do it from a linguistic point of view, or to be more precise, from a grapho-linguistic point of view. What I mean by grapho-linguistics, I will explain later on. First, I want to show you an example, just to give you an idea about the connection, the relation of images and writing. And we already touched this topic yesterday when we listened to the talk of Christa, who showed us some examples using messages where we found emojis. And for the beginning, at the beginning of my talk, I would give you also an example on the use of emojis in a text message written in Swiss German. So even if you have basic knowledge of German, maybe you won't understand. And there is another message, just to compare with a German message and the use of emojis in the German message, a Chinese text message, which I cannot read. So here you see the examples. In the Chinese message, I assume it is from WeChat, you see emojis and also stickers, which are used in the communication. And in the German message, there are only emojis, 7 or 8 emojis in this text, which is a birthday greeting. Happy Birthday, Mini-Schwester. Ich würde so gern den Tag mit dir feiern, aber ich bin in Gedanke ganz fest bei dir und weiß, ihr werdet's mega geniessen heute. Ich liebe und vermisse dich. And then the heart emoji, one of the 8 emojis we find here. So this is one part of my topic, use of images, or let's say use of pictorial elements in the text, and I will focus on emojis, not on stickers or GIFs or photos. Means I will focus on these symbols which are included in the Unicode, because this is also my topic, the Unicode character set. And as you know, up to now we have more than 2,500 emojis, which are part of the Unicode character set. And every year there will be more emojis which are added. So let's come to the outline of my talk today. Images and text, images within text. This is the first topic I want to talk about. Then briefly, I want to come to the theoretical background of my lecture, and then I will come to the term grapholinguistics, and also to another discipline, linguistic discipline, which is called computer-mediated communication, or digital communication, or keyboard-to-screen communication, as I will call it. And in the third part of my lecture, I will talk about corpus-based research in linguistics, but not in general, of course. I will give you a short overview on corpus-based research in text messaging, means in WhatsApp messaging. And WhatsApp, as you know, is a very popular text messenger, very popular in Germany, in Switzerland, and in many other countries as well. In India, as I was told yesterday, it is very popular as well, and in Brazil. Here in the third point, I will refer to WhatsApp communication in Switzerland. And then the fourth point will deal with functions of emojis. And I use emojis with an S in the plural, I must say, because there are others who say the plural of emoji is emoji. But in the German-speaking world, if you speak about emoji in the plural, we call it emojis. So, therefore, functions of emojis in the fourth point. And then, and the fifth, and it's also a main part of one of the main parts of my talk about Unicode. I will not only talk about the fact that emojis are added as symbols, or symbols are added to the Unicode character set, which become emojis then, but also about another symbol which is added to the Unicode and which did not exist before. This is a German letter, the so-called sharp S. Of course, you say, but it exists. It is in the German alphabet. We have the 26 letters of the Latin alphabet, and then 4 special letters, the umlaut and the sharp S. But as for the sharp S, there existed only the lowercase sharp S and not the uppercase. And this has changed thanks to Unicode. I will come back to this point later on. And then a short outlook at the end. So my first point, images with text, besides the text, separately to the text, and images in the text, as characters, let's say. And this is here an example from Instagram. You see a photograph, and then you see an Instagram post. Good evening for all my friends. Today is Strawberry Day. Enjoy, and so on. And you see a lot of emojis which are added and which which illustrate what is said in this message. And what my point is that these images are added as if they are characters. They are on the same baseline, like the characters. They have almost the same proportions, like the characters. They are so they are added here, not like a photograph, which is added separately to the message, but they are integrated. They are inline. Online, inline, let's say, in the message, in the text. So, and this is a difference. And they can only be used in this way because you can type them like a character on your keyboard, means on your virtual keyboard. And the photo has to be uploaded. So this is a difference. And this may also bring us to the question whether emojis are characters, whether emojis have the status of a character. They are in the Unicode character set. They can be added as if they were a character. Not so GIFs, not photographs, not videos, and other pictorial elements. So now, just to get an idea how often emojis are used at all in Instagram or in WhatsApp messages, I have 2 slides. I prepared 2 slides to show you some figures. This is a chart, a table from Instagram, text containing emojis in Instagram. And as we see here, the users from Finland are using emojis in 63% of text. In France, they are very popular as well. But in contrast, the lower bound is in Tanzania, with only 10% of text containing emoji. It would be interesting, of course, to check this on the basis of current figures, because this is from 2015, what will have changed during the last 3 years. But and I assume that nowadays even more emojis are used in Instagram, because they can be placed in hashtags, in the hashtags. So, and of course, this leads to an increase of their number, or this led to an increase of their number. And maybe if this trend continues, we might be looking at a future where the majority of text in Instagram or in Twitter, for example, contains emoji. But this is for Instagram. Now let us focus on WhatsApp messages, or on other text messengers like Facebook Messenger, for example. And on the next slide, I would like to show you a a table from the results of a survey in Germany, but it is from 2018, from May 2018, and therefore I've chosen it. It is a really recently published survey. It comes from Bitkom, a company which is concerned with digital issues, and on this slide it is said, nutzen Sie emojis? Do you use emojis when you exchange messages in messengers like WhatsApp or Facebook? And how many emojis do you use per message? And I only focus on these two questions. And among the participants, and it was 1,074 users from 14 years on until 65 plus. So it is really not only the young people were asked, and as you see, 79% of the participants said yes, I use emojis in my messages, and it seems that on average 2 emojis are used per message, 2 emojis in 2018. But of course we have to keep in mind this is not an empirical study on the use itself. It is, let's say, a self-assessment of the participants who answered, who gave their own who gave their answers on this fact. This is not a study, a corpus-based study, like we did it in Switzerland. I will come back to this in a minute. So this is just for the framing of my talk. And now let's come to the theoretical background, or let's situate it in the linguistic scholarly work. First of all, I would like to point out that we have to be precise about the levels we are talking about when we talk about computer-mediated communication, which is the focus here, or let's say everyday private computer-mediated communication, because of course there are official email letters, business letters via email. This is also computer-mediated communication, but I will focus only on private communication and family chats, for example, and so on. So, but what is computer-mediated communication, and on which level we are talking? Which level we are talking? So here I make a difference between the medium. And this is a typical linguistic point of view to analyze this way of communication. It is said for communication, if it is not a face-to-face communication, you need a medium, a device. And this device may be a telephone, a smartphone, a cell phone, a laptop, a desktop, something is a technical device. This is called the medium in this way of analysis. Then on the next level we have the communication practices which are possible within this medium. Yeah? And of course a computer offers a wide range of possibilities, of forms of communication, chat communication, email communication, also telephone communication via voice calls, and all these different communication forms have their own features. So one-to-one communication, normally in an email exchange, in a chat, one-to-one, many-to-many. It is written, or text chat on a written base, telephone call, one-to-one, typically, oral communication. So these are the different forms of communication. And the third point is, within these forms of communication, we have different text types. If we focus only on the written communication practices, text genres, text types, and a business letter, as I mentioned, is different, or should be different from a letter of love. Has other features, also other formal features. Of course, the content is different, But what I mean is that the way of writing, the stylistic features are different. Or a letter of application, holiday greetings. This is a kind of private message, like we have a look now later on in WhatsApp, in the WhatsApp chats. So there are different text genres, and with these different text genres, there correspond different ways of writing. Stylistic of using the different stylistic expressions. So for the different forms of communication, here's just some examples. And in the German-speaking linguistics, we call this not forms of communications, but platforms of communication, even, because within one communication form, like WhatsApp, we have different possibilities to communicate. So private messages, chat, or voice chats, and so on. So in fact, these are platforms and not only forms of communication. So these are some examples, and now another, just for another term, clarification on a terminological level, I talked about computer-mediated communication, and as I said, there are several notions for this: CMC, EMC, DMC, IBC. And this is an article I published together with a colleague of mine, Andreas Jucker, and we coined another term, KSC, keyboard-to-screen communication. Here is the beginning of this article, and we refer to David Christa. Some of you will know his name. At the beginning of his new textbook, Internet Linguistics, David Christa discusses the appropriate terminology for the study of language used in the new media, and reflects on different concepts such as computer-mediated communication, electronically mediated communication, digitally mediated communication. Similar terms by other scholars are internet-based communication, used for instance by Michael Beiswenger, or internet-mediated communication. So these are different ways of approaching this subject. And as for Andreas Jucker and me, we proposed the term keyboard-to-screen communication because our purpose was to cover not only computer or smartphone as a medium to communicate, but for example also cell phones, which is not computer-mediated, or at least in the perception of the people using a small phone. It is not a computer they have at when they telephone, for example, and it is not internet-based. So keyboard-to-screen communication, we call this way of communicating, and we say, to start at the last point, this is a communication which is, or the second point, B, where the messages are typed on a keyboard. This is a device which is always included, as for graphically based, written-based communication. There's a keyboard on the one side and a keyboard on the other side, but also a screen. So these two devices are compulsory for this way of communication, which is not face-to-face. And it is communication which is one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many, and maybe mediated by different devices, smartphones, but also cell phones we could add here. And this is a term which we use in our discussion, but in our work, scholarly work, but the term keyboard computer-mediated communication up to now is also very popular. So here you have an article about computer-mediated communication, which is was published in 2013 in a famous handbook by Susan Herring who is a professor of linguistics and informatic science at Bloomington, and colleagues of her. But what I want to point out here are two publications on gʁafo-linguistics. Let's start with the last reference here, Neef and Weingarten. Neef, Martin Neef, Rüdiger Weingarten. They publish, or they are the editors of a dictionary, and this dictionary is called Schriftlinguistik. But since it is an online dictionary, and the articles are supplemented or added. Articles can be added every year, and the articles are in German or in English. And the dictionary is called Schriftlinguistik in German and gʁafo-linguistics in English. And what is important, or for me it is an important point, is that now even a dictionary, which is a part of a series of dictionaries on different linguistic subdisciplines of linguistics, like phonology, morphology. Now there is also a dictionary on Schriftlinguistik, on gʁafo-linguistics, which shows that this discipline now is accepted in the linguistic field, which was not the case 20 years, 30 years ago, when Florian Kulmers published his little book, Überschrift, which appeared in 1981, I think, and which is means about writing. So, Schriftlinguistik, and as for me, I published a textbook on this topic, and now in English there is not this term is not used. You use it. In Wikipedia, for example, there's only a gʁafemics, but not gʁafo-linguistics. So this is the Wikipedia page for gʁafemics, and it is said, gʁafemics or gʁafematics is the linguistic study of writing systems and their basic components, graphemes. For Schriftlinguistik, there's only an entry in German Wikipedia, Schriftlinguistik, and here it is said that Schriftlinguistik covers the notion Schriftlinguistik is not, or I said it is not said here, is not equivalent to the English term. It is meant in a much broader sense, and it covers all aspects of writing. So the relation between spoken and written language, the literacy of adults, the acquisition of written language by children, of course writing systems and phoneme-grapheme relations in alphabetic script and so on, but it is a broader sense. It is used in a broader sense, and I would be very happy if somebody would publish an article in the Wikipedia in English on gʁafo-linguistics. Here you see only the next book I would like to just to show for the topic of emojis is from Danesi, Marcel Danesi, who is a linguist and a professor of semiotics and linguistics at the University of Toronto. And this is a book I could recommend because it is not so, let's say, it's an in-depth analysis of the use of emojis. And as you see here from the content, emoji and writing systems, emoji uses, emoji semantics, grammar, and so on. There are a lot of topics which are covered in this book, and it is really a very interesting reference. So this is within these disciplines, or within these literature, my analysis is situated. And first, now I would like to come back to the typical features of messages or of computer-mediated communication or keyboard-to-screen communication in general. And as Martin Bieswanger, in his article in the handbook published by Susan Herring et al., says there are stylistic features like syntactic reductions, colloquial expressions, dialectal elements in messages which are in a private, which make part of a private exchange. And there are gʁafematik features, acronyms, oh my God, OMG, or often it is the case that letters or numbers are used as homophones, like 4, the number 4, or a letter like C, this is not on the slide, CU, yeah, CU. So this is a way of rebus writing. Christa mentioned it yesterday as well. Non-standard spelling and punctuation. You have an idea what is meant by this. Iteration of exclamation marks or question marks, for example. And the use of emojis and the use of the old ASCII signs. Here an example, so nice, and then a smiley by ASCII signs. And now I will focus on emojis, and means on the gʁafematik features. And but to come back to the beginning of my talk, there are other graphical. Susan Herring calls it graphical elements. I would call it pictorial elements. And she published an article with a PhD student, nice picture comment, on graphical elements like emojis, signs, stickers, and so on. And as a cover term, she uses the term graphicon, which is a term which means all ways, all the different ways of pictures, the different kind of pictures introduced in communication. So corpus-based research on text messaging. Here is a slide which refers to an old corpus research project, which is already is already finished, and this is on SMS, the old text messages by cell phones, sent by cell phones. And I only mention this corpus because it is public, it is available for academic research, and it is and the WhatsApp project, which I want to introduce now, is the follow-up project of this SMS project. Because this is a project which was conducted in Switzerland, funded by the Swiss National Science Foundation between 2011 and 2014. And afterwards we applied for another project, WhatsApp project, also with the Swiss National Science Foundation. And this is the WhatsApp project, where you see here now this is homepage of this project. And you see that 4 universities are involved: Zurich, Bern, Neuchâtel, and a university in Germany, Leipzig. And the project leader is a colleague of mine, and I'm the leader of one of the 4 sub-projects which are conducted within this general project on the use of WhatsApp in Switzerland. Here you have some information about this project. It started with a data collection in 2014. We asked the Swiss population to donate WhatsApp messages through science. Here you see the advertisement. Language researchers at the universities of Zurich, Bern, and Neuchâtel want to discover how people in Switzerland write WhatsApp messages. Visit the WhatsApp page to find out how to donate your messages, how we protect your privacy, and what prizes you can win. So at the end, we got about 750,000 messages, and the corpus will be available at the end of our when our project is finished. Will be available to the community, like the SMS project corpus, and the data are fully anonymized, and there's also part of speech tagging and so on. So researchers can work on this data, and we do it, or means PhD students and 7 PhD students dealing with this data. And the research questions, the main research questions are the following ones. What has changed between SMS and WhatsApp messages, and why? And what is said, done by individual users and the media in and on WhatsApp messages. So here are the 4 sub-projects. Language design in WhatsApp, iconography. This is the sub-project where I am, in which I am one of the leaders. Here you have some more information about this sub-project. And it is said, we will have a look at changes in graphic strategies enabled by new correction software, virtual keyboards, and especially new sets of iconographic signs, emojis, across linguistic communities, as well as the specific function of these in shaping communicative identity. So, and within this frame, my talk is situated today, because this is one of my research projects now, to investigate the relation of image, icony, and writing, graphy, in everyday communication via WhatsApp. So here are some 2 examples of our corpus. It is our Swiss-German subcorpus, means we have data, a lot of the messages in German, in French, in Italian, also in Romansch, not many, but also messages in Romansch, the 4th language of Switzerland. But as for the German subcorpus, most of the messages within this subcorpus are written in Swiss German. So we have the subcorpus, the German subcorpus now is divided in Swiss German data, and let's say not standard German, better said non-dialectal data, which is not standard German, but which is non-dialectal corpus. So here 2 examples. I just undecorated the Christmas tree, probably, if I express it literally, and aber jetzt ist now it is real, and so on. You see here 2 emojis. The 2 emojis are are added to the message. They don't substitute a word like in the first message. They only are a comment or a way of illustration. These are 2 examples. Now, just for the numbers of emojis used in the data, a last slide. We have 5 colons, but 4 languages. Means the first colon is non-dialectal German. The second colon is Swiss German. And as you see here, in the non-dialectal subcorpus, 20.3% of all the messages come along with emojis. And there are also many messages where only an emoji is used and no text at all. For example, the thumb up sign, which is sent without any text, and which can express a whole sentence, a whole message. So this is the background as far as the data are concerned. Now, for the functions of emojis, I will only focus on the gʁafematik functions, not on the pragmatic functions, means that emojis express emotions or that emojis comment a message, or illustrate it, or express what is said in the message, or underline what is said. I focus on the gʁafematik functions, and I published a paper on this, but it's only in German. There's a short version in English. You can find the version on Academia, but the long version is in German. And here, for example, we discussed in this paper examples like das Mal mit Sonnencreme. And here it is obvious that the emoji stands for the first part of this compound, and it can only, let's say, only be translated by the word sun. But this is not always the case. Therefore, in my point of view, emojis are used as logograms. They don't stand for a fixed expression. In this case, it is not. In this example, it is a case. But let's have a look at this example. Also from the corpus, WhatsApp corpus. This means in English, I have been. What have I been? Running, jogging, maybe walking, or on a run, or yeah. There are different options. Of course, the concept is clear. It's pretty clear. What is meant is clear. But coming back to Ferdinand de Saussure, the signifiant is évident. But what is that? What is meant by what is the signifié est clear. But the signifiant, what is the expression? The right expression, we don't know it. Means it belongs it depends on the context, but it is not as if the word is written in characters. Here we have only an idea what is meant, and the emoji is used as an ideogram, but not as a logogram. This is one function. So you may be wondering how often emojis are used at all in this way. Substitution as a substitution of a word, or even of a noun phrase, for example. Let's say the sun is shining, and then instead of the sun, the noun phrase sun, and the sun emoji is used. How often does it happen? And indeed, in our corpus, it is not so often the case. Normally, the emojis are added, they don't substitute words. But maybe this will change because of technical reasons. You know, we have the emoji prediction on our smartphone. Not only word prediction, but also emojis are suggested. So if I type, for example, I'll bring you a little present, then the system asks me, do you want to put the word present or presents? Or do you want to use the emoji, the present, the gift emoji? And then if I accept the gift, or if I click on the gift emoji, and I do not type a space after the word present, then the word present is substituted by the gift emoji. If I type a space, the word present, the gift emoji is added to the word present in this case. My point is that maybe the use of emojis in this function as a substitution of words may increase because the emoji prediction offers makes suggestions, and it is not longer necessary to search in 2,500 emojis to find the appropriate one. You can. It is belonging. It depends on the context, and the system maybe offers you an emoji you would never have used if it would not have been offered. So this is for the substitution of words, but of course emojis can also be used as a substitution for characters itself. Means as an allograph. Bonne nuit, the moon emoji. Instead of the character O. Yeah? So we see emojis have different gräfematic functions, and the last one I would like to point out is that they can be used instead of a period, for example. Here, this is a message, this is a post, this is not from our corpus. Ce soir, c'est le weekend. There is no period at the end of this message. It is an emoji. Within the sentence there are also emojis, but this is not what I'm concerned here with. At the end of this message we find an emoji, and often it is the case that the message ends with an emoji, or that or at least that the period is missing. Yeah? The period is substituted by an emoji, or if there is not an emoji, there is nothing at the end of the message, no period. And this brings me to an article which appeared in the journal Computers in Human Behavior, where it is said, the title of the article is Texting Sincerely, the role of the period in text messaging. And here the abstract or the highlights of the article, it is said, participants read exchanges in which the response did or did not end with a period. Texts that ended with a period were rated as less sincere than those that did not. For handwritten notes, no such difference was found. What is said here that if the period is if there is a period, this is so astonishing, or it is even that people start thinking about the fact why the communication partner uses a period at the end of the message. This is the message of this article. And here an example. The data stems from 2013, so therefore it's a little bit, the devices are not up to date. But this is an example of the article. It is shown that the participants were asked, how sincere do you think Stacy is? Please circle the best option. So the participants were given this, or were shown this the photographs of a smartphone or cell phone, smartphone. Dave gave me his extra tickets. Wanna come? And Stacy answers, sure. Point. Period. And participants, most of them, but only 124, most of them said, this is not a sincere answer, or this is unfriendly, it is cold, the period seems to have this connotation nowadays in such context. We can discuss it. So next point is, or it's only a short hint to the media reports on all these, on the use of emojis. It is a subject which is very broadly discussed in the media. Here an article, Emoji Invasion, the End of Language as we know it. Emojis are the fastest growing language in the UK. What does this mean for the future of communication? And you all know the discussion about the question whether emojis can be the base of a new universal language. Here are some articles in German or French, Un retour aux hiéroglyphes, or will emojis destroy the language, or and so on. So we have a lot of articles on this topic, and often they deal with the question, what is the status of emojis within the language, and whether they will become the new language. And this is of course not the case. It cannot be possible. Here an example. It is a book from Fred Benenson. Mike Christa mentioned it yesterday as well. How to Speak Emoji. It is the whole book is divided in several chapters. And in every chapter you find emoji sequences, for example, on activities in the restaurant and so on. And always the emoji sequence is translated with the same sentence in the alphabet. And on the cover of the book you find this example, 3 emojis, an emoji sequence, eyes, pointer, book emoji, and then the, let's say, translation, read this book. But it is, of course, in this context, it is assumed that this could mean read this book, but this could also mean somebody reads a book, or read the book, or somebody will read a book, or read a book. It is not evident that it is really said, read this book. So what I want to say is, by emojis you can only express a concept, but not the sentence as it is written down in characters. And it is not possible to express grammatical relations or temporal relations for yesterday, in the future, and so on. But anyway, there are such publications from Benenson, for example, who also published Emoji Dick, translation of Moby Dick in emojis, which is only understandable because you know Moby Dick, and but it is a whole market now to do it in this way. So my last point, Unicode. The Unicode Consortium was already mentioned yesterday as well. Here you see the members of the Unicode Consortium, several companies, about 20 members representing these companies, which all have a vote in the consortium. And there are also additional or associate members. Here they are listed, and then there are individual members as well. And I would like to focus now on Unicode, because every character we can use on the keyboard, we use it thanks to Unicode. Or let's turn it in another way. If the Unicode Consortium did not add a character or to the charter character set, we cannot use this character or this symbol as a character on the keyboard. And this is the case for the emojis. Since the Unicode Consortium decided in 2007 to add emoji or to add symbols to the Unicode character set as emojis, we can use emojis on our keyboard. So this is the press, it's a starting page of Unicode, where it is said that there are new candidates, emoji draft candidates for 2019. So as I told you, every year new emojis can be added, or it can be submissions can be there can be submissions for new emojis. And already for 2020, submissions can be done. Here, but what is important for me is that there is really a strict review process, but which is very transparent. On the Unicode website, you see all the criteria which are applied, and if somebody is interested to apply for a new emoji, to send in an application, a proposal, for a new emoji. Here you have all the criteria, the selection factors for the inclusion of the emojis, and the factors which lead maybe to an exclusion. I cannot discuss on these criteria, but it is really very transparent, and everybody can get the information and can try to submit a new proposal. So this is a short hint to the history of emoji in the Unicode. It is said that the first in 2007 the proposal was made to the Unicode consortium to expand the scope of symbols to encompass emoji, and this led to the formation of a symbols subcommittee, and in August 2007 the committee agreed to support the encoding of emojis. So here the last press release. Now, a last note on another symbol or character, which is was accepted by the Unicode consortium, not the emojis here, but the sharp S in German, sharp S, SZ, as we say in German. The sharp S, which is used here, for example, in uppercase letters or within uppercase letters, but this is the sharp S here is a lowercase letter. Maybe you can't see it, but here you have an example, this word Straße. Straße with a sharp S, lowercase. Then the word Straße, all in uppercase letters, but since there was no uppercase sharp S, people had to use double S instead, or as a lowercase sharp S. But now, thanks to Unicode, we have a sharp S in uppercase, as an uppercase letter. How comes? There was a proposal in 2007. It was already the second proposal, but this one was accepted. And this proposal requested the encoding of the Latin uppercase letter sharp S. And it was argued that it is necessary that in the German script, we also need an uppercase sharp S. And the German Council for Spelling, this is the website of the German Council for Spelling, at the end accepted the uppercase sharp S by saying it is accepted, it has become possible since the technical requirements for a capital letter were created with the encoding of this letter in ISO and Unicode. Only because it was encoded in Unicode in 2008, now finally it is part of the German orthography. And this is the rule set now. It was changed. It is said now, when writing in all caps, use double S, or you may use the letter, the uppercase letter sharp S. Okay, so I would come to the outlook and to the end of my talk. The outlook is what will be next. Maybe written communication will be substituted in a certain way by oral communication, voice messages, speech recognition. Maybe this, here, as it says here, it will change. And what will be the future of writing? What will be the futures of emojis if, as it is said here, voice messages are sent? 1 in 2 says, yes, I sent voice messages. So, last slide, my questions. We could discuss here together which symbols will be included in the Unicode character set and which will be not in the future. Will emojis still be used in the future? And to add the last question, what is the future of written communication? Will the oral communication will live a revival? Yeah? So this would be an interesting point of discussion, but I am running out of time. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. We'll take a few minutes for questions. Be succinct and phrase your questions in words. If you cannot do this, send our speaker a WhatsApp message.
Or an email afterwards. I give you my email address.
Thanks very much for your talk. I was involved in a project about 10 or 15 years ago with a group that designs tabletop displays to measure just how the virtual keyboards that they were putting onto these displays affected the use of language. This would have been work we did in around 2006, 2007. And These tabletop displays are very expensive, so the cost to entry is well above what young people can typically afford. They're very large devices, so all of the spontaneity and the some of the explanations for why emojis are being used with mobile devices, the ubiquity of them simply didn't apply here. And what we found was that there was a massive increase in iconic use of different kinds of abbreviations and other forms of textual adaptation, just to overcome the fact that the virtual keyboards basically weren't any good relative to hard keyboards. When they pop up on the screen, they take away screen real estate, and because of the capacitive touch that they have, it just doesn't work as well. And so what I notice in your talk, and I've seen this in other talks about emojis, is that they often use the language of enablement, that the technology is creating these opportunities for something like emojis to be expressed. Yes. When in fact it seems like an equally compelling force behind this is disablement. The technology has prevented us from writing long sequences of prose. I mean, there's this kind of anecdote about Scott Follman at Carnegie Mellon inventing emojis just to overcome the sort of vacuous lack of interactiveness that emails have to begin with. So I'm wondering, why the kind of hooray for David Crystal crowd always sort of go the route of enablement, and going forward what we can do to study emojis in a way that seems to balance this essential tension between definitely what exists as a positive creative potential against what technology is doing to impair traditional communication that actually drives people to the use of these alternatives.
Yeah, indeed, technology drives us also to the fact that we use, for example, words we won't use normally, because with the word prediction, if I want to write a word, but it is not offered, it is not suggested by the word prediction, maybe I choose the other word which is suggested. Or if I write normally in a dialect, and if there is no prediction for the dialect word, then I use the word which is offered in the standard version. So technology has an influence in both ways. Means we can use emojis, but also on the verbal level, we use maybe words we won't use normally. This is, yeah.
I've been working on a corpus of what is called Arabizi, that is Arabic written in Latin characters. And it's just Twitter exchanges and young people exchanging. They use a lot of emojis. They also use large characters, small characters, capital letters to express the emotional aspect of communication. So you have communicative aspect and emotional aspects. And usually emojis are emotional. So the question is, not all of them and not all the time. You need to work on the pragmatics of that. So and also emojis are related to pictures on Instagram or Twitter. So this means that we have a communication that exceeds to some extent verbal communication in writing. So the question is, how do you reckon the way we can work on the different aspects of emojis, capital letters and pictures?
Yeah, this is my research project, the relationship of writing and image. And but as you said, emojis are a part of emojis are used to express emotions, but the word emoji does not refer to emotion. No. And in former days, with the ASCII signs, the main task of these signs was express emotions, a smiley and so on. But now with these little images, with these units we can insert in our text as in an emoji, we have more possibilities not only to express feelings, but to refer to activities and so on by using, not by using a word, but by using an image. And this is really interesting to know, to investigate what does it make with a verbal level of language, because this is a pictorial level, let's say, of expressing not only feelings, but of expressing proposals, thoughts.
Thank you very much. I'll have to cut this off here because we cannot very well deprive our host of the opportunity to present his research. Thank you again
Thank you.
for this presentation.